で普通に OVA として作るということも、今までたくさん作品でやってきたんですけれども、新たな仕掛けで、映像を、お客様に届けていこうということで、日本では、OVA の発売と同時に上映を、して、かつ配信もすると。でまたかつできるだけ時間を置かずに、このアメリカのお客さんに対しても、ヨーロッパ、アジアのお客様に対しても、作品を送り届けていこうというプロジェクトを、としてやっています。
We've done many OVA projects before, but we wanted to try something new, like something that could be, different, that, like we hadn't done before. And so what we did was, at the same time as the release of the OVA, we had a theatrical release. And then also for the US and European and Asian fans in Asia, we wanted to be able to release it in a very short amount of time after the Japanese release.
Great. Now, if I could ask the actors to tell us a bit about, we've been talking a lot about Gundam Unicorn 3, but in general, if we could just talk about Gundam Unicorn, some of the challenges of doing this project. We've been hitting on some of this today, but if you could just kind of recap your perspective on this project getting involved.
Part of it, and we did talk about, I played Riddy Marcinus in Gundam Unicorn, and part of what, one of the... And I know it was touched on before, but time, because the time frame that we had to produce this was very narrow, because we're trying, we're working in tandem with a lot of people doing a lot of jobs, and a lot has to get done, so we have very little time. In some projects you get a lot of background, and you get a chance to talk about things, before you get into it. Whereas with this one, we were working really fast, so it was really important to work with the production team. To work with Michael, who was directing. We really had to trust him to know all the stuff that we needed to know to do our job as actors. And that if ever we were sort of headed off in the wrong direction, or we needed some context, because, unlike, you work on a series that they've already aired, 3 seasons in Japan, and you're just starting to dub the first season, you can go on and watch everything. You can't do that with this. So we needed, it was doubly important for us to be working in tandem with the director, who knew everything that we needed to know, and he would just sort of, download to us whatever, thing, sort of character stuff was important for us to know to perform.
Hi, I'm Tara, and I played Marita Cruz. Interesting things, like Yuri's saying, is we are working on it like it's a dub, but we're also working on it like it's original, because we're creating our character originally as we're recording, because they're recording simultaneously. So it's not like with many other dubbed shows where you can watch what they've done in whatever the language that the country that has dubbed it in has done it previously, and then you can watch that and sort of listen to it and feel the tone and sort of pick up some nuances. You are creating it originally simultaneously with whatever it is they're doing. Now, of course, it's helped that the production team is working so closely in conjunction, so it's not like they're trying to do something drastically different, but you are creating this character from scratch at the same time that you are also doing all the technical dub work. And so it's a very interesting sort of balance, and it's nice to be working on a project that is not only helmed by somebody that has such a clear vision for it to help guide you as the actor through what you're doing, but also is so rich and fun and deep character work to play with.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I voice Audrey Bird. I think the most challenging thing too is also just the story is so rich and complicated that keeping that straight, and also like with each episode we learn a little bit more about the character's psyche and also what's going on, because not what you see is not always what you get. Sometimes there's other things in plan, in terms of the character. And so just delving into that and figuring out all the pieces, I think that's like the most challenging from the acting standpoint. And then for me, doing it when you don't have much sleep because you're working on the production end, that's also challenging.
Hi, I'm Michael Sinter-Nicholas. I'm the English voice director, but I also play Angelo, creepy number 2 to full frontal. So it clearly has been a challenge, but I have to say that I think Sunrise's commitment to this has been epic. And it's an overused word now, but it's really been substantial. It's rare in our industry that we get so much help and input while we're doing the production. We have Akane, actually at the end of the table, is flying in for every episode and sitting in the studio for every session. And we have Nobuo Masada from Bandai Entertainment coming as well. And he's been a part of every dub of a Gundam property since they've been dubbing. So we also have Mark Simmons, who's an extraordinary expert on Gundam, the whole universe. And he's on speed dial and answers many questions during the adaptation phase, but also during the recording phase. And the material is so rich that it's really, really, really useful to have all these people. I mean, I've seen my Gundam, but there's a whole new canon involved here because of these novels that we based UC on. Unicorn, UC, Universal Century Unicorn. So all that help. It's really a team effort. Everyone's working really hard, and I actually have started growing a Gundam beard. I vow not to shave because it just takes time away from working on Gundam. So when the production starts, it just starts to grow, and then by the end of it, I have a nice little beard. Maybe I'll do a better job documenting those in the future.
I've got to run to another panel. Thank you guys for staying.
Let's hear it for Yuri, Lowenthal, everybody.
I'm really proud to be part of this project, and that, got to see it today the first time with you guys to see how well it's turned out. I'm even more proud. So thank you.
One more time for Yuri. So Michael, I'm going to toss it to these guys for questions, but I have a question for you. If you could talk a little about the process of casting these characters. And I was remiss in pointing out everyone's character names, so thank you guys for remembering to do that. And as Yuri mentioned earlier, which I thought was an interesting comment at one of our other functions, he was saying he often gets cast as the sort of gee-whiz, young character, and you sort of casted him against type, and you obviously made some interesting choices. So if you could talk about casting these roles, that would be cool.
Thank you. Well, I think that, well, first of all, my studio is bi-coastal. It's called NYAV for New York, but now we have an LA. I don't know if I should LAAV or something in the future.
NYAV LA?
It's LA and an LOB. I got to buy another vowel. But so for me, it's been really fun to open up the casting to all these people that I love to work with in both LA and in New York. And in terms of typecasting, for instance, someone like Yuri, who I'm friends with personally, I don't see these characters as necessarily just the archetypes. I think something that Gundam does really well is thrust real people into a war situation, Even for characters like Dagusa, played by, Richard Edgar, who sounds perfect, he starts off the other way. He starts off as sort of an archetype or a stereotype, and then you see his heart blossom towards the end before his heroic, exit. So for me, it's about understanding the characters as people, not just their position in the story as archetypes, and then finding people who I think relate to that. That's a huge thing. For me, I think casting can sometimes be done too quickly, but it's a great opportunity for the whole production team to understand all these people on a much richer level. And technically, one of the strange things about this is we're having to cast these characters before we hear the recordings from Japan. So I'm actually asking to hear the audition tapes for the people who they cast and use that as a vocal ref versus all the story stuff that we have to sort of weigh that against. So that's been sort of a unique way of casting. We don't have the finished picture with voices yet, so I hear their auditions, and then I do my auditions based on those auditions. Oh, the other thing was we had to, when we set this up, because it's Gundam, it's over 30 years old now, and a lot of people know what it is, because we were keeping it secret, we changed a lot of names of things in the audition sides. So Hado became Happy, and all the names of the various mobile suits became something slightly different. So we cheated on all the names so no one would know what it was and leak it. And it worked.
Okay, guys, I'm going to give you a chance to ask some questions, and those of you who ask questions, actually I'm going to pick people so you don't need to line up. I'm in control. And those of you who ask questions, you're going to get a very cool prize from Japan. So let's start with you in the costume. Yes, right there. And please be loud. Do we know the voice actor for Bright? We don't know anything about episode 4 that we're going to talk about, are we? Maybe Sasaki-san should pick that one.
そうですね、ブライトさんの声優さんに関しては今、先日オーディションを終えまして、今決定済みです、4話の、公開に即して、いずれ発表したいと思っています。
For the character Bright, we did have the audition and the cast has been selected, and we hope to be able to announce it real soon.
And after you ask your question, if you come over to the lady right there, she's going to give you something very cool. Let's get someone on this side. How about right there?
Yeah, I had a question. Since you guys have been doing pretty good with the new introduction of the UC Century sagas, are you guys going to maybe try to introduce a bit more later on, maybe with like my personal favorite was MS8, the MS team. So I was wondering maybe if we see, you know, a bit more continuation, it was kind of short, you know, maybe a bit more in-depth to some of those, or maybe to some other series.
The question is, are we going to introduce more UC like 8th MS team? That's the 2-second recap. You're talking about like a new projects, right? Like new UC projects. Okay. In general. And why don't you work your way over while they're answering if you want.
宇宙世紀シリーズというのは答えていいですか？
Oh, absolutely, of course.
宇宙世紀シリーズっていうのは非常に30年の歴史がありまして僕らも作るのに非常に大変な思いをして作るのでそうたくさん作れない実情があるんですけれども今ユニコーンのプロジェクトが、進めているんですけれども、いずれまた新しい宇宙世紀シリーズというのも、作っていくことになると思います。
With the UC series, it does have a 30-year history, and so it's hard as us in the production side to even create storylines for it as well. And so right now we're working on the Unicorn project, and eventually we would like to do it again.
All right. Let's get someone on this side. How yeah, you. No. The person behind you. I'll come back to this other person. Yes, go ahead.
Well, my question is, will Bandai ever consider doing another major Gundam which is out here in the U.S. like we did back in early 2000s? What level are you? The storm of Gundams on cable. Will they try to do a push like that? Or are we seeing more just a standard anime rollout?
That's a question I should answer. So what is Bandai's role in all this? Well, obviously we work very closely with Sunrise on distributing Gundam to the USA. And I think what you're referring to in the big rollout was Gundam Wing, which obviously about 10 years ago was on American television and had a really huge impact. It was probably one of the peaks for Gundam in the US. And that was a great time, certainly. We have made efforts with other shows in that regard, but you know, I think there's an evolving strategy for North America, and I think Unicorn is an excellent example of a new direction for that strategy, which obviously having a simultaneous release with an English language version. So, you know, the more support I think we get for that in North America, and you guys have been a part of that, the more we can look to push Gundam in the U.S. Let's get someone over here in the glasses.
Yeah, just curious. It seems like the Gundam Unicorn is based on a novel. And I'm just wondering, since he already mentioned that it's been like 30 years already with the Gundam series, and it's definitely hard to actually come up with new stories. So I'm just wondering, in the future, would they actually be considering to continue adopting like novels, like Gundam novels that people write, and if they're good, and whether they'll just try to make it into an anime series.
Sure. I think everyone heard that. To recap, he's curious because Unicorn was based on a novel, if they'll consider other novels for anime adaptation in Gundam. And remember, after you ask a question, you can come on over and... Oh, someone brought you one. Let me have a big hand for Nobuo Masuda, right there. Our Gundam man in the U.S.
今小説をもとに何かガンダムの小説をもとに新しい作品を作るという予定は今はありません。
As for now, we don't have any plans of animating anything from an existing novel.
Okay, how about over here? How about right in the corner? Yep, pointing at your own head.
Okay, a very simple question. When am I going to see Gundam Unicorn Episode 4?
I can answer that question, sort of. When will you see Gundam Unicorn Episode 4? I am allowed to say the following. I'm going to read this because I don't want to get in trouble. Volume 4 Blu-ray is coming up in the fall of 2011. More info to come soon. Okay, let's get someone else. How about in the corner? Yep, pointing at your head. Thank you. Who came up with the idea for Space Pool?
監督がビリヤード好きなんじゃないですかね。
I think it might be the director. He might like a pool.
Let's get someone somewhere I haven't picked from. How about over there? Yeah, white shirt. You look shocked that I picked you. For those of you who didn't have Blu-ray players, why was there a delay between the Blu-ray and the standard def? I don't know, but the standard def is available now. We have the first volume out, which has episodes 1 and 2. We're releasing 3 standard DVDs, and they'll have 2 episodes each. And the cool thing is the wrap, the DVD wrap, is reversible, so you get the cover of 1 and 2 in the DVD. But as for that delay, I honestly don't recall why that was set up that way, but they're coming out now. So hopefully we'll catch up with the Blu-rays. Yeah, in the middle, yeah, you're pointing at your own chest.
I just wanted to ask a question about Gundam Age. I just wanted to get more information on it. Yesterday just said they were making it, and that's it that.
More information on Gundam Age. Sasaki-san will have to answer that.
ガンダムエイジですね。日本でもいろいろお話しになることがたくさんあるんですけど、今年の10月から、日本のテレビでの放送を今控えています。
There aren't a lot of information out even in Japan yet either, but we will be starting it in, it's currently planned for airing, broadcasting in Japan in October.
ガンダムエイジに関しては、今までの、ここ数年の作品ちょっとテイストを変えまして、少し、若いというか子供にも、ちゃんと見てもらえるような要素というのを意識して取り入れて、今回、作品を作ってます。また商品も、 日本の子供にとても人気のある、ゲームで、いい商品が作れるような作品にしたいと思っています。
And going slightly different from how the Gundam franchise has been going so far, we are thinking about incorporating some elements that will be appealing to us children as well. And there will be merchandise, like things that are popular among children, such as games, that will be, that could be developed as well.
All right, let me get someone on this side. How about you in the costume right there? Taste to cosplay.
I got a question for the voice actors.
Question for the voice actors, great.
What were your favorite lines for your characters?
What are your favorite lines for your characters in any of the episodes of Unicorn, if you have any favorites?
I'll go first, give ladies some time. They have more lines to recall than I do. There's a fight scene with Benager where I get a little hostile. I like that, putting my foot on him. And that whole scene, it's just mean. I never get to play characters like this. I play heroic or nerdy young boys, so this strange, twisted, sort of pervy pilot, the pervy pilot, Alberto, has been really fun. Yeah, but pretty much beating up Benager to try to show off in front of Full Frontal.
I like in episode 1 when she says, "I don't need you." And everyone goes, "Ooh, it's a major bird."
That's an Audrey burn.
When Michael was answering, Stephanie and I were like whispering over here, and I was saying it's hard for me to remember the exact dialogue that I said specifically because I was only in the booth for very short periods of time. But I did like in some of the earlier episodes when I was sort of explaining war, and there was like that beautiful chapel, and there were just some really, I remember when I was saying it, I just really liked what I was saying, and I also, in this episode, particularly enjoyed the stuff in the hospital, and just sort of where that was happening emotionally, but I can't remember specifically the verbiage, but I did enjoy doing it.
And I meant to mention when I first came up, I mean, I don't know, I hadn't actually seen this episode yet, and just seeing it here, did it not sound and look amazing? I mean, these guys did an amazing job. Let's get someone closer. How about in the hat? Yeah, pointing at your head. There you go. The old double zeta question. I'll answer that in a second.
Is it Puru or is it Pol?
Is it Puru or Pol? Why don't we answer that one first? Is it Puru or Pol? Michael, you know what I'm talking about, right? Pull. And the old double zeta question, I mean, I get this almost every day of my life, actually, either on email or at a convention. You know, we're always planning and strategizing when to bring some of the older series over. As I always like to mention, we're bringing back First Gundam for the first time on DVD with the Japanese audio, which is huge. That's going to be out in September. And Turn A Gundam is coming out in the fall. So we're trying our best to catch up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get someone in the middle. How about right here in the corner pointing at your own head? Yes. Oh, the voice actor's favorite behind-the-scenes moment is a great question. There's so many.
You guys both had more behind the scenes time because you were doing so much more than just doing the voice acting. But I always like the setup at the studio that we record in. No, I like it because there's a window. So every studio is different, and you know they have different layouts, and you can see different things and can see different people. But I just like it because it actually looks like you're looking at a spaceship. So for me, it's sort of fun because you know we're working on a series that's taking place mostly in outer space, and it looks like we're in a spaceship, and I just enjoy that.
There's the old Thanksgiving story, which is one of my personal favorites.
I mean, is that a behind-the-scenes moment?
Well,
I had episode 1. I had a severe, like, I had a severe cold. I was running out of the booth every 10 minutes, 5 minutes, blowing my nose, taking a mint, whatever, and then neti potting. Do you guys know what neti potting is? YouTube it. And then I cooked Thanksgiving dinner for everyone.
Wait, what did you say about it? Give Akane a microphone so we can get the real story.
Yeah, Stephanie made the best Thanksgiving dinner ever. And I think, was it your first Thanksgiving dinner? Yeah, for the first episode. Thanksgiving has sort of been a recurring theme in Gundam Unicorn, clearly. So for the first episode, we did it during Thanksgiving. And then my poor computer, which couldn't grow a beard, was being worked so hard that it literally just died. We were done recording, thankfully, but starting the mix, it was like, I can't go on any further. So I ended up having to run to Best Buy. It was the closest place to buy another Mac. That's what we're doing it on, a Mac. And it was Black Friday, so I got a whopping $100 off at least to buy a new computer. And then this last Thanksgiving, I was just enjoying a dinner at a friend's house. And luckily because I'm bi-coastal, I was luckily still in California. I get a call from Akane saying, we've reanimated a part of this. We need to change the timing of the performance. I was like, oh, okay. Put down my dessert, jump in the car, run back to the studio, and then find an alternate take, and then edit it together, and then find a good punch-in, punch-out point so I could output the 5.1 stems and the stereo version, and then FTP it immediately because they were in the session and needed it within like 2 hours or an hour and a half, or else they wouldn't make their layback deadline. So it's totally crazy, but it was like Mission Impossible, driving back, and I was like, all right, now, and then I was wide awake, and I just stayed up for the next Black Friday, and I saved a lot of money on a television.
So we can watch it.
Let's get someone on this side of the room. I'm going to go way over there. Yeah.
What is your favorite orchestral scores in the episodes thus far? Your thematic fights, thematic scenes?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Oh, the favorite orchestral score in any of the episodes, in the fight scenes.
Oh man, I don't know what the names are. Is it there are literally some moments, and because of the score, which I think is extraordinary, especially in episode 1, I remember watching some scenes, and I had to keep rewatching it to make sure the dialogue was where it needed to be in the mix, because I'm also doing the surround mix on this. Because the music was so, I was just enraptured by the music. Seriously, I was getting choked up. When is it? Oh gosh, it's episode 1. I'm blanking. It's in the second half when there's a fight that starts, and the music. I would actually poke people. Listen to the music here. It's so sick. The theme is great.
They always pick good points where they introduce the main thing. You know, it makes you a little weepy.
Yeah, it totally. I mean, I get a little when I hear certain motifs in the score. Yeah.
There you go. Michael. Sasaki-san, would you like to comment on the music, like the philosophy behind the music for Unicorn in general?
そうですね、今回本当に BGM が、皆さんに良いと言っていただけてまして、あれは沢野さんという非常に若くて才能のある音楽家に音楽をお願いしてます。
Yes, this series, we do get a lot of compliment from fans saying that the soundtrack is awesome, and it's being composed by a very young composer named Mr. Sawano.
Awesome. All right, let's get someone. I gotta get. Yeah, and hold up what you're holding. Yes. Okay. Okay. In episode 3, when they left the ship to go to the station wreckage.
Yeah, was there a mobile suit riding another mobile suit in the background?
Was there a mobile suit riding another mobile suit in the background?
When you get to the line,
You mean like two turtles on top of each other? That kind of thing? Okay.
And then there's the line where he said, "You think this is a Game Boy? Was that intentional?"
And was the line, did you think this was a Game Boy, some kind of intentional video game reference?
You mean, did we get money from Nintendo?
Yes.
Oh, the Game Boy. That's an.
Oh, about the Gundam? He thought he saw two Gundams kind of riding on top of each other in the background. And if that, on the way to the station. Is that, did anyone else see this? Okay. We might not know that. Maybe that's something one of the production people slipped in as a little, one of the animators, I don't know.
So I guess the answer is, if you saw something like that, it doesn't seem either were intentional. No, the Game Boy thing was not. If it were, I would have said, this is, where do you think, this is a game, 3DS?
You would have said, we. How about way in the back, you have a green hat on. Great question. Why did the production decide to go into a 6-episode, 1 hour, 50-minute format versus a different format? What about that 6-episode format seemed correct for a Unicorn?
そうですね、割とこれまで作ってきた OVA は、30分、いわゆるテレビと同じサイズの、シリーズが多かったんですけれども、今回やっぱり福井春俊さんの、小説のテキスト量が非常に膨大だったということで、また、割と大人の方に、十分楽しんでいただけるような、内容にしたいなと思いまして、でまたアメリカのドラマなんかもだいたい45分から50分ぐらいの1時間の番組でできてますんで、そういったものを参考にして今回50分と55分ぐらいですかね、新しいフォーマットで作品を作りました。
In the past, OVAs have been for the most part 30 minutes, and a lot of it is because it's based off of the how the production is for the TV series as well. But because the novel by Fukui-san had a lot of text, we didn't want to cut out a lot of the details, as well as we wanted a show that would be very appealing to adults. And by that, we took a lot of inspiration from U.S. dramas, which run an hour long. So that's why it became 50 minutes or 55 minutes.
Good question. How about we get the gentleman in the red holding his badge up?
Thank you so much. Mobile Suit Gundam has been around for 32 plus years in counting. But however, it's been here stateside for at least 12 or 13 years. It took about 2 decades to get here. It's like it existed in secrecy more longer than the stealth fighter F-117. My question is, what took Gundam so long to come here?
Okay, the question is, Gundam's been around for 30 years in Japan, and it's only been around for about 12 years in the U.S., and what do we think is the reason that it's taking Gundam so long to come here? That's a tough question to answer, but maybe I'll put Sasaki-san on the spot. Do you have any theories? I mean, personally, as I mentioned, Gundam obviously really peaked in the U.S. with Gundam Wing. It was on television. I also meant to mention earlier when I was talking about that, we also had Gundam 00 on television on the Sci-Fi channel, which was fantastic. So that creates a broader awareness, and when possible, we always try to do that. So I think that's a huge part of trying to grow Gundam in the U.S. is just having it more accessible, in my opinion. But that's more my personal opinion. Sasaki-san, what do you think? Any thoughts on the U.S. market in terms of Gundam?
そうですね、やっぱりどういう形でアメリカに作品を持っていくのかっていろいろ難しい、言葉の問題をはじめとしていろいろ問題あると思うんですけれども、10年前からガンダムウィングという作品からアメリカにガンダムが紹介され始めましたけど、今こうやって僕らがガンダムユニコーンを日本から届けている理由としては、その20年を取り戻すべく、より多くのお客さんにガンダムの楽しさを知っていただきたいなと思いますので、ぜひその20年を一刻も早く取り戻せればなと思います。
There are probably a lot of different obstacles that we faced, trying to bring Gundam to the United States, and so we decided that we would introduce Gundam, the world of Gundam, by using Gundam Wing. But yes, we do have 20 years to catch up, and so we hope that we can really catch up on that and take back those 20 years and get more fans to like Gundam in the United States.
Awesome.
I like Gundam so much, I adopted it as my nickname and pilot call sign monitor for my future career.
Oh, right on. Let me get a couple more and then we're almost out of time. Let's get someone on this side. How about you're waving your hands in the air? Shout, please.
If you could pick a side, Earth or Xeon, which one would you pick? Not putting your character's allegiance.
So if you personally could pick an allegiance, Federation or Xeon, what would you pick? And I think you could all take a crack at answering that one.
I just want everyone to get along. Stop all the fighting, man. Do we have to pick
That's a cop-out, Steph. Come on.
Well, only the Federation has space pool. So.
I don't know about you guys. I'm not as much of an expert in the Gundam verse as probably a lot of you, but I feel like with each thing that I learn, I keep kind of shifting, my allegiance. So it's hard. It's not black and white, It kind of depends on the situation.
Which is the beauty of the story, right?
It absolutely is. Yeah, it's not just black and white and red and blue, a little bit of yellow. I think though, if I were in this universe, I would pray that I wouldn't get kicked off my home planet. So I would want to be Federation. I'd want to stay on Earth. I wouldn't want to be kicked out to the stars because of overpopulation, if I were there, I would hope I was still on Earth in the Federation. But as an audience, I don't know. But they don't have a catchy slogan like "Seek Xeon."
Okay, let's get a couple more. Who has a really, really great question for our panel? I'm gonna trust the guy pointing at his hat, his pointed hat. Don't let me down. Sure. Good question. So because of the longer format of the OVA, they were able to include more of the story, but were there things in the novel that they felt they had to leave out or any things they wish they could have included?
そうですね、いくつかはありました。ただやっぱりもともと福井さんのそのテキストを映像化するということを最大の目標にしていましたので、大きなところでは小説と変わらん内容を目指して作りました。
There were some bits that had to be cut, but because we had originally planned when the light novel was serialized that it was going to become an animated show. So for the most part, we have everything that is in the novel is in the animation as well.
That was a good question. You came through for me. How about you waving your hand? Make it a good one. We're very close to having to call it. Yes, yes, pointing at yourself. Yes, yes. Stand up loudly, please. Oh, you guys are coming through for me. So the question is, even though Gundam is long, the Gundam Unicorn episodes are long, could we look forward to maybe even a longer format like a Gundam Unicorn movie?
The 50 minutes is really all we can do.
Okay, we're getting close to the end. Maybe one more. How about you right here?
Towards the voice actors, you said that since you don't have the Japanese voices to go off of, you're doing more notes from the directors. What kind of contact have you have made with like the novel, whether it be summaries or like actual translations to kind of get more in depth to your character's backstory? And also, is there any possibility that we could get the novels translated if the series does well?
So the question for the voice actors is, I caught the novel part and I'm spacing out. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
basically the question was, as voice actors, because we're not basing it on
Yes,
Japanese.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Tara.
Okay.
Go.
Because we're not basing it on the Japanese, are we using reference material like the novel or the books to sort of fill us in more intensely into the Gundam world? And then the second part of the question is, and can we expect to have the novels translated into English?
Why don't you guys
I don't know
tackle
about the
that?
novels.
I can answer the novels, but why don't you guys go first?
To answer your question, I will be honest, and I am not as familiar with the Gundam world as I know they both are, and I know Yuri is. I mean, Yuri grew up watching it, so he was very intimately familiar.
I'm just kidding.
What? No, watching it.
I'm teasing.
Oh, yeah. And so I'm not as familiar with it, and so I have not read the novels. I have watched some of the things now that Yuri's done and that other friends of mine have participated in, but I am not as familiar with it. So I do rely heavily on Michael to explain to me when I show up for my session what is going on. And so I haven't read the novels, but that's how I sort of get the information and participate.
Well, we try to give them as much information as possible. I'm lucky in the sense that, like, since I work on production, I read the script over and over again, and I actually kind of have to, because for someone who doesn't have that much background knowledge of Gundam, it can be a little bit confusing. Like, the more times I read it, the more times I watch it, the more I pick up and see that I've missed stuff from before. But we have at our disposal, it's not just us in the room. We have a producer from Sunrise, or a producer from Bondi, and we have somebody on speed dial, Mark Simmons, who can answer any questions. But it is tricky actually, because you want to convey the information to the actor, and you kind of have to pick and choose what you tell them, because, I mean, I'm sure all you guys know, once you start talking about Gundam, you can go on for hours, and then you get no recording done.
Yes, being concise about the direction is a challenge for this rich universe. But we get materials sort of, they come in waves. And part of the trick of this is not just working fast, but starting with incomplete materials. So then we start with one thing and have to double back and do it again. So ironically, even though we have very little time to do the work, we're having to do things more than once, which ordinarily would not be the case if you had everything finished in the beginning. But it's part of the adventure. But like I said, basing things on auditions and having conversations is kind of about communication. There are certain things that we see, and in typical storytelling for anime, there's lots of ... dots. So having conversation about how to fill those dots is huge, and having people from all the companies together in the room is great. Even better than Skype.
And answer the question about the novels. As some of you may know, part of my responsibilities at Bondi Entertainment is I also see the manga division. Well, it's not division. I see the manga publishing program. And we have released some Gundam novels. We released the Gundam 00 novels in English. The light novel category in the U.S. manga market is pretty challenging, actually. It's not been as robust as the manga market in the U.S., and I have some very complicated reasons that I think that is. The number one is I think most bookstores, Barnes & Noble and Borders, put the light novels in the manga section. I honestly think they should be in the science fiction section. So that's a sort of education I think that needs to happen with the book retailers in the U.S. But the anime-based novels have been a big challenge. Unfortunately, there's no plans for us to tackle Unicorn at this time because we wanted to see how Gundam 00 did first. But certainly, if the situation changes, I would personally like to bring those to the U.S. But at this point, there are no plans. So let's get one more question, and then I think we're going to have to sign off. So it's got to be a doozy. I'm going with someone who's actually being very still and silent. So I think you're the winner right there. You're looking, yes. Hope you have a good one.
When do you plan to finish Gundam Unicorn?
When do we plan to finish Gundam Unicorn? Like, that's a good one to end it on. So what's the remaining schedule for Gundam Unicorn?
そうですね、今一応6巻まで、やる予定ですので、今からあと2年以内には、6巻までお見せできるんじゃないかなと思ってます。
We are currently, we are planning for 6 episodes, so we plan to wrap it up within 2 years.
Within 2 years. So before we go, I was asked to take a poll kind of for fun based on an earlier question. By a show of hands, who in this audience is pro-Federation? By a show of hands. And who in this audience is pro-Xeon? By a show of hands. It's almost a toss-up. It looked a little more Xeon-ish. Okay. Well, guys, you've been really asked some great questions. I want to please join me in thanking our amazing panel from Gundam Division Sasaki-san.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Nicholas, director. Stephanie Shea, producer and voice actress. Tara Platt, and of course, Yuri Lowenthal. Thank you all. We were here last year with Unicorn. We're here this year, and I'm sure we'll see you again next time.